I love those Jingle bells. Oh, those holiday jingle.
Producer Paul is feeling very, very Christmassy today. I love it. Welcome back. You're listening to Whissel Wednesdays here on AM 1170. The Answer. My name is Kyle Whissel, your host with Whissel Realty. Joined as always by Mr. Jason Hall, Team Home Loans.
And we are on our fourth year already, man. This has gone fast.
No commercial.
Another fast evening here
flying.
at 11:70 a.m.
It's all the fun we're having.
We are. I mean, when you got the mayor of Santee in studio, I mean, you know it's going to be a good time.
He's been dropping knowledge. We got Andy Cook dropping knowledge with Andy Cook Law Offices, the family law attorney. And you, I know, had a question you wanted to bring up, Kyle, to Andy.
Yeah, so, you know, there's so many things that happen that become very, very difficult for people when a divorce does occur. But what can somebody do to prevent some of these issues from being such a headache?
Well, the one that comes to mind is to have a prenuptial agreement. The problem is you can't do a prenuptial agreement after marriage. I mean, there's another name
So that's
for
why it's called prenuptial? Yeah.
Right.
There's not really a postnuptial?
There is a postnuptial
Okay.
agreement. I don't do them, but you can do postnuptial agreements. But a prenuptial agreement, if you're a little bit hesitant about getting married, you feel like you've been burned by the system before, you can enter into a prenuptial agreement, but there are some very strict rules about it. For example, each party usually has to have their own attorney. The person against whom enforcement's going to be sought later on has to have received the prenuptial agreement for the first time at least 7 days before signing it. But if everything is done properly, you can circumvent California's community property laws, and you can circumvent the spousal support laws of California. What you can't circumvent are rules regarding child custody and child support. For example, something that says we agree to never have children, that's not going to be enforceable. Or we agree that if we have children, I'll get custody, that's not going to fly. Or we agree that if we have children, I'll never have to pay child support if we get divorced. None of that works, because child support is the right of the child custody is the right of the child. But the two main things with prenuptial agreements are you can deal with spousal support and you can deal with property rights. And for some people, that's very important. Psychologically, though, it's difficult for other people to do. The other thing people can do, too, if they have some concerns, is they can keep their money separate so that later on, even if they don't have a prenuptial...
Show me the money!
That's what I think's the biggest thing going through this, right? Everybody wants the house. That's what Kyle and I see. They want the house, or they don't want the house. They want the money.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up is if you keep your money separate, then money that you acquired before marriage, there will be no
commingling of assets type of thing?
Right. If you do that, and I'm not talking about you come into the marriage, you have $500 and you just put it in the same bank account. But if you have money and a lot of money and you put it in a separate account before marriage, there will be no questions asked later on, and that will clearly be your separate property. You won't even need a prenuptial agreement. But most people aren't thinking that. They just say, let's put it all together. We trust each other, and then down the road there could be problems.
Yeah, we're looking at each other
good
like
knowledge.
That's great knowledge. I mean, it's stuff that we all need to know, right? You hope that you find the right person, you stay married for forever, and you hope everything goes well. But I know, even talking to a client this week, I mean, they've been married 31 years, their kids are grown, and they're just, they love one another, but they're not really deeply in love, and they just want to move kind of separately, and they're saying, hey, it's going to go easy, and we just decided, this is happening. And he was telling me a lot of his friends, these are people in their 50s, 60s, been married, 25 to 40 years. They're just deciding, hey, you know what, we just want to stay friends, and we're starting to separate our desires, the fun things we want to do, and it's more common out there. And so I think it's good to talk about it, and that's why we want to have you in the studio, Andy.
Well, I think it's important for people to understand that I've handled divorces from people in their 20s to people in their 90s. I mean, nobody has to feel that they're all alone. People have to decide whether they want to get divorced, but once they do, that's when I sort of take over. But of course, that's just for the people who want to start divorces. For people who want to, who are on the other end, sometimes you don't have a choice. If you get served with divorce papers, you have to respond. You can't put your head in the sand because, in this
and you'd be crazy not to reach out to an attorney.
Right. And the point is that unfortunately some people do that. They sort of ignore it, and they try to talk their spouse out of proceeding with the case. But if you ignore it, especially after those 30 days go by, the case is going to move on with or without you. You don't need the other spouse's permission to get a divorce. Those rules went out.
More knowledge I don't know. See, I've never been through this personally, and I hope never to, and not lock on some wood here.
Definitely.
But,
I mean, none of us ever want to go through it, but if you need some help, whether you're looking to get married, you want to get a prenuptial agreement put together, or, things have changed in the relationship and you need to go down that divorce route, we'd love to get you connected. Andy Cook, family law specialist. Give us a call or shoot us a text, 619-663-7355, 619-663-7355. Jason, I know that you and I both have relatively similar feelings on this one. When people want to buy a home and it's a boyfriend and girlfriend that aren't married, aren't engaged, it's always a touchy one, right?
It's a very touchy one. And the reason, I've always counseled people to, hey, who really wants the house and who can really afford the house? Let's try to get you the house under just that one person's name, right? And the issue here in San Diego is the real estate values are so high. It's very difficult for one, if you got a boyfriend and girlfriend as an example, it's very hard for the boyfriend to qualify for the house that him and his girlfriend want, or condo. Usually they look at what one can afford and they go, oh, I don't want to live down there, and then the two of them want to be able to afford a house there in Santee next to John and Kyle. And, they say, hey, we're going to buy Santee. And that's an example. Kyle's smiling right now. Exactly what happened to the couple that we know. And sure enough, I told him, I don't advise it, but I'll help you through it anyways. We got him the house. A year or 2 years later went by. Guess what? Boyfriend, girlfriend break up. And, the girlfriend had to buy out the boyfriend. Now, the boyfriend really didn't bring a whole lot to the relationship, apparently, including financially. And she had to write a check for like $40,000 for living with the guy for like a year and a half. And, she kept saying, Jason, I should have listened to you, and Kyle, right? And these are just things that happen. But it's difficult because we all want to live in a nice place. When you're living together, you really believe this is the person you're going to live with the rest of your life. You're hopeful of that, or you wouldn't move in and you wouldn't make that financial commitment. But that's my advice. I try to, if you can, keep it separate. Try to have just buy one, have one just pay all the bills. That way there's no, tie to that house, including the gas and electric bill. Because I've heard stories like that over the years, Andy, where, they signed a prenup, but the wife, was writing the gas and electric bills, and somehow she was able to get a portion of that house because she was paying a portion of, maybe it was the property tax bill she paid. She paid something that the attorney on her side was able to capture the equity on that home that the guy had owned, prior to that relationship. So it's why you want to seek out a professional.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're buying real estate and you've got a partner on it, you should have some sort of agreement in writing, whether you're married with a prenuptial, whether, Jason and I, we bought properties before. There should always be something in writing. Anytime you enter into any type of partnership, whether it be marriage, whether it be investment partners, whether you adopt cats, you should always have something in writing for when things go wrong, because you just never know what's going to happen. Like you said, that couple in Santee, that was a pain in the butt, and it adds so much stress to somebody's life, where if they would have had an agreement in place up front.
Sat down with an attorney like Andy, they could have just wrote it out that, hey, if we decide to break up, since I'm paying for everything, this could be my house type of thing. She'd been a lot happier.
Well, I think the other issue, too, is if you buy property in the capacity of boyfriend and girlfriend and you're not married, then it's not a family court issue. If things go south, you've got to go through the civil courts, because the courts won't look at it any differently than just two friends who own property or two brothers. So that's also a problem, because I've had people, I do divorces, but I also do paternity cases, excuse me, where people are not married. And what happens there is you got to deal with the custody and the child support in the family court, but then you have to send them on their way to civil court to start a whole different case to deal with the property issues, because the family law judge doesn't have jurisdiction over property issues if there's no marriage. You only have marriage.
Speaking of Santee and speaking of property, I know you got a new listing. I saw on your Facebook. I know you give your listeners an opportunity at properties before they hit the market. kind of get that inside scoop. What do we got it going?
You would love this one, Jason, because as of today, there's a giant Trump 2016 banner strung across the garage of this property. So I know that you would be a big fan. It's got your Tea Party flag hanging off the side of it. I mean, this thing is made for somebody like you.
That's a Santee resident, right?
Yes, sir. proud Republican.
Very proud.
Yes. But the property we've got, this one is not on the market yet. 3 bedrooms, your cookie cutter starter house. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, just under 1,300 square feet. You got a 2-car garage. You got a good sized yard. View of the mountains around you. That's one of the beautiful things in Santee. You're in a valley. There's mountains everywhere. So beautiful view. And this home's $439,000.
Yeah.
I mean, $439,000. What a mortgage on that with 20% down is going to cost you how much money?
20% down, you're probably talking like $1,800 or something with tax and insurance and everything. But even with the small amount down, it's probably like $2,400.
Which is exactly what it would rent for.
Yeah.
You know?
And you get to live in a great city of Santee, led by a great leader in John Minto, the mayor.
That's where we're going to make Santee to continue to be proud.
Yeah. What else you got going in Santee? So you got that one.
So we got that one coming up. Tomorrow we're volunteering with Santee
You and I will be out
Santas,
there.
which is going to be great. So we're going to get to go and just deliver gifts and spread joy to a lot of the families in need tomorrow. Santee Santa is seriously an amazing organization, santeesantas.org. If you're interested in getting involved this year or in the future, I know they've got some stuff that goes year-round now out there in Santee. So they always need volunteers. They always need help.
And if you know
it's
a
great
family in need,
organization.
let them know.
Yeah, definitely. If you are a family in need or you know one in need, definitely visit their site and they will make sure that they have a very joyous holiday season. Just want to thank everybody for coming on the show today. If you need to get connected with John Minto, the mayor of Santee, Andy Cook, family law specialist, Jason Hall with Team Home Loans, or myself, Kyle Whissel at Whissel Realty, give us a call, shoot us a text, 619-663-7355. Have a very happy Hanukkah, as Jason would say. Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa. We will talk to you later.
From now on, our troubles